All right, so Israel is bombing its neighbors with impunity again, like they do. Israel bombs Syrian defense HQ and president's palace. Jolani's Golan Heights deal has outlived its utility. Israel bombs Syrian capital despite U.S. pressure to stand down, like they give a shit. In recent days, there have been clashes between a Druze militia and a Bedouin gang in the city of Suwaida in southern Syria. There has been sporadic violence between members of the two minority groups since dictator Bashar al-Assad was toppled in December and replaced by ex-militant Ahmed al-Sharaa. When the Syrian government sent in tanks to try to restore order, the Israeli Air Force attacked those tanks. The U.S. official said Syria had notified Israel in advance about the tanks and said its response was not directed at Israel. But Israeli officials claimed the tanks entered a zone that Israel, which is occupying parts of western Syria, why? Don't know, has demanded be demilitarized of heavy weapons. Over the last 24 hours, clashes continued in Suwaida between the Druze, the Bedouins, militias affiliated with the Syrian government, and Syrian security forces. According to the Syrian Human Rights Observatory in London, at least 250 people have been killed. The Trump administration has asked Israel to halt its strikes on Syrian government targets and to open direct talks with Demascus, a senior U.S. official told Axios on Wednesday. U.S. officials are highly concerned that the Israeli attacks, including on Syrian military headquarters in Damascus and near the presidential palace, could destabilize the new Syrian government. The official said the past 48 hours could seriously undermine progress toward a new security agreement between Israel and Syria as a first step toward normalization. Those discussions had previously been showing significant progress, the official said. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters Wednesday that the U.S. was, quote, very concerned about the Israeli strikes in Syria and wants the fighting to stop. So here's Benjamin Netanyahu explaining their really noble and humanitarian motivation of protecting the Druze. I would like to brief you on what we have done in Syria and what we are going to do in Syria. We have set forth a clear policy, demilitarization of the region of Damascus from the Golan Heights. You know, these freaking Israelis talk so goddamn fast.
Yeah,
who did we do a video from? They were nice and slow. What country was that?
Lula.
Yeah, so from now on, we got to do more Brazil stories.
Yeah, they're nicer anyway.
Yeah, from the Golan Heights and to the Druze Mountain area. That's rule number one. Rule number two is protecting the brothers of our brothers, the Druze at the Druze Mountain. Both those rules were broken by the regime in Damascus. The regime sent troops south of Damascus into the region that has to be demilitarized and began slaughtering the Druze. That we could not accept in any way, and I therefore directed the IDF to take action and powerful action. The Air Force attacked both the gangs of murderers and the armored vehicles. I added another target to also attack the Ministry of Defense in Damascus. As a result of that powerful action, a ceasefire came into force and the Syrian forces retreated back to Damascus. That is important. This is a ceasefire that was reached through strength, not by making requests, not by begging. Through strength. We are reaching peace through strength, quiet through strength, security through strength on 7 fronts. That will also be our policy. We will not allow Syrian army forces to enter the region south of Damascus and will not allow any harms to the Druze in the Druze mountain. I would like to share with you something that touched me deeply over the past 2
is that
days.
right?
And I am not talking about anything in the Epstein files.
Right.
I received a message from Sheikh Muwafaq Tariq, the leader of the Druze community in Israel. He told me the following. He told me, during the Holocaust, when you were being slaughtered, you, the Jews, cried for help, and no one came. Today, we, the Druze, are being slaughtered, and we are calling for the help of the state of Israel. I told him that he's right. We have taken action, and we will continue to take action as necessary.
He told me something else. He told me, Druze and Jews, they rhyme. Isn't that funny?
And then I dropped the beat.
Then we started beatbox. And then from there, we just kind of went with it.
And then I went for a vintage groove that I'm very fond of. Yeah. So as you might expect when you're dealing with the Israelis, there's more to it than what Netanyahu says. So for one thing, Netanyahu was in court today. So Israel started a massive bombing campaign in Syria, and court was adjourned. Netanyahu, as you know, is on trial for corruption. And the longer this war goes on, not only with Syria, but principally in Gaza, the longer his trial can be delayed. So he is highly motivated not to see the end of hostilities. But more thorough analysis here from Monitor. The Israeli Air Force is ramping up its strikes against Syria, including hits against the presidential palace and general staff headquarters. Although the nominal reason is to protect Syria's Druze minority, the real objective is to set the ground for annexing Syria's southern provinces of Quneitra, Daraa, and Suwaida. I apologize for my pronunciation. This aligns with the long-standing Yinon Plan, a geopolitical strategy outlined in 1982 that advocates for the balkanization of Arab states along sectarian lines to ensure Israeli regional dominance. Key implications. 1. Strategic expansion. Israel already controls the Golan Heights, Quneitra, since 1981. Annexing Daraa and Suwaida would extend its buffer zone and link up with Druze communities, reinforcing demographic influence. 2. The Yinon Plan in motion. The 1982 strategy explicitly called for dismantling Syria into sectarian statelets. Israel's backing of the Syrian Revolution 2011 to 2024 fits this playbook. Destabilize, then absorb. 3. Greater Israel's borders. Fascist minister Bezalel Smotrich has openly called for Israel's borders to extend all the way to Damascus. Annexing southern Syria would be a major step toward this ultra-nationalist vision. Now, I got to say, when you're dealing with a monstrous, violent psychopath like Netanyahu, that sounds a lot more likely than that he has an overwhelming amount of sympathy for Druze people.
Right.
And if you look at the map, it makes sense. So you see Israel there on the left. You see this kind of buffer zone there that they're speaking of. You have a Druze community there in the northwest part of Syria, and then you have a Druze community down there to the south, and then an autonomous Druze territory there in the middle. Sure, if Israel moves in there, basically subsuming the Druze, they're one step closer to the Greater Israel Project. There's no joke. A lot of IDF soldiers have the Greater Israel patch on their uniform showing a map that, what do you think, that's a coincidence? That they're trying to start shit right in the territory that would get them up to the line where they aspire to be in this Greater Israel Project. Do you really think Benjamin Netanyahu is not a subscriber to the Greater Israel Project theory, that he's not trying to do that? They've been trying to do that for 76 years. They just keep creeping up and taking more and more territory and then throwing up smoke screens when anyone protests. Oh, it's complicated. It's complicated. They have to educate their children better. The Arabs are very while they're talking like that, they're sneaking up, sneaking up, sneaking up. Someone else posted, Israel never cared about Syrian minorities. Netanyahu bragged about putting Jelani in power. No reaction to Alawite massacres or churches bombed in Damascus. Israel bombs churches in Gaza too. This is something Tucker Carlson has talked about a lot. They pretend you're muted.
Sorry, I was just going to say they just bombed the church in Gaza.
Yeah,
they just bombed the Catholic church.
Yep.
Yeah.
They pretend it was the main Catholic church there.
Yep.
They pretend to back the Druze only to get them wiped out and steal their land. Jelani is useful to them. Now that sounds a lot more plausible than that Benjamin Netanyahu suddenly cares about Druze people.
Of course.
And here you see actually somebody from the Jews community who's not in Israel, like the one that Netanyahu quoted, an independent member of the Druze community, said of this, one of the Druze figures who crossed from the Israeli-occupied Golan into Syria in a speech in the village of Hadar, quote, I came here from the occupied Golan despite the Israeli occupation and its army. What these Takfiri gangs, the gangs of Ahmed al-Shara, are doing of murder cannot be accepted nor tolerated. We hold the Israeli government and the United States responsible because they are the ones who brought al-Jilani here, along with America, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia. Netanyahu can stop the war within an hour. We don't ask for the protection from Israel or anyone. We are protected by God. Well, that does not sound like the Druze community is of one mind in seeing Israel as its protector and savior. What he's describing sounds like very typical Israel joint fuckery with the West to destabilize a region in order to take control of it. Sounds a lot more like that's what he's describing, and given the history, that's a lot more credible than Netanyahu's claim of humanitarian intent.
Oh, of course. That's why they wanted Assad gone in the first place.
Exactly. So they could fuck around over there. So here's David Lammy talking about how important it is to have a stable Syria.
Very humbling to be here, the first foreign secretary in 14 years to visit, to stand with the Syrian people as they rebuild this country. Many Brits will have been moved to tears watching Syrians take to the streets to celebrate their freedom after the fall of Assad. Syria matters hugely to the UK. It matters that it's stable because if it's not, the terrorism that can happen here washes up on our own streets back at home. And it matters also because of irregular migration. It's hugely important that we continue to support progress here. This is a country that is ancient, made up of many different people. The future has to be an inclusive one. It has to be a peaceful one. And I hope for prosperity for all of the Syrian people.
Well, you know, it could help with that, telling Israel to knock off the shit. From Halima Khan, Syria's presidential palace and defense ministry was bombed by Israel today. Israel is facilitating the illegal migration of Israeli Druze to commit terrorism in Syria. David Lammy, quote, a stable Syria reduces terrorist threats to our national security. Sanction Israel, you skid mark. Yeah, but they're not going to do that. Mohammed Shaheda, name any other country on the face of the earth that gets to launch daily unprovoked assaults on its sovereign neighbors with the clear goal of turning them into failed states, gets away with it each time without a single Western government condemning this aggression. Insane world. Yes. And finally, Ali Abu Nima, Israel has so much impunity that not even the EU and American supporters of Syria's al-Qaeda ISIS regime condemn this. Yes.
Well, it's almost like they were tools of this project the whole time, right?
Oh, of course. They're
Yes.
all in it together.
Yeah,
They're in
so
cahoots.
so why would they condemn it? I mean, if they condemned it, it would be symbolic, and I shouldn't even
Right.
say symbolic. It would just be dishonest. It would just be a very sort of hollow way to paint a face on this that does not reflect the actual long game that began obviously with the toppling of Bashar al-Assad. That's why that was such an important project to the greater Israel Mind Trust. That's why they wanted it, and they finally got it. And yes, now this is all being unleashed. It's all very predictable. This is why Gustavo Petro at the Hague summit said they'll bomb all of us.
Right.
They'll bomb all of us. If we don't
That's what
organize
Chris
against
Hedges
them, they'll
always
kill all
says.
of us. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, like, Marco Rubio complaining like they might not have wanted them to do it in that particular way at this particular time. It might honestly have been a wag the dog to stop the trial, to suspend the trial. It might literally have been
Sure.
that. But in terms of the overall strategic goals, look at that map. It's obvious. Look at Syria. Look at Israel. Israel wants everything up to that line.
Of course.
At the least.
At
That's
the
what
least.
this is about. At the least.
Right. At the least. And once again, going back to what Petro said there, that, what do you think? They'll ever be satisfied?
Right.
Does an ideology like this ever just say, okay, you know what? That's enough. Enough is enough. That's it. No, that's never how it works. That's never how it works. And so, yes, the impunity continues. The impunity is by design. The impunity is a feature. This is why they were very excited about Trump winning. This is why they said, it's the best of all worlds, because they had a non-entity like Biden during the first year of this. But the first year of this was really the prologue. Now they get to actually put this plan in motion. And who is there to stop them? No one in America. No one in America. It's going to take the rest of the world. It's going to take the rest of the world. It's as simple as that.
Please clap.